Hi, my name is Mary Vicario, and I'm the director of Finding Hope Consulting. I'm so happy to be with you today as part of the Growing Resilience Ohio website. I'm here to talk to you about the safety script. The safety script is something I actually stumbled upon when I was a second grade teacher way back in the 1980s. And my classroom was my pride and joy. And I had a sign up, a framed sign that said, "This is our safe place." And I really meant that to the core of my being. And I found that when something was happening in my classroom that was disruptive, I would just stop and say, "Hey, Carolyn, this is our safe place. No one's going to knock your stuff off the desk. I can't let you knock stuff off John's desk because this is our safe place." And then we'd figure out together, can we all help get the stuff back on John's desk? Then we could figure out how to help you. But I noticed that when I started with "this is our safe place," things calmed down immediately. And then when I let the person know I was going to protect them from the very behavior they were doing, they calmed down even more. And then when I set the limit, instead of exploding like many children do when they hear the word no or stop, they actually hung in there with me. And then when I closed with "this is our safe place," they were able to look at the situation in a whole new way. And what I learned over time from being a second grade teacher for many years, and then a therapist and a supervisor and a consultant and a trauma specialist, is that what I was doing was I was letting their fear center know, first and foremost, this place is different than the place where you learned that behavior. This place is safe. And I don't even have to mention where they learned it, because if they're doing it, they learned it somewhere. You know, all behavior is purposeful, maybe the only thing Sigmund Freud and I agree on. All behaviors learned is something that B.F. Skinner said. Interestingly, they're very similar statements. And so I knew this child was doing something they learned somewhere. But rather than criticize them, I let them know that here in our safe place, they were going to be protected from that behavior. And so it was really important that they not do it, because that's what made this place safe. And it was so helpful. It was helpful as a teacher. It was helpful to me as a therapist. I have used it with adults in marriage counseling. I've used it in family counseling. I find it works in a variety of settings. A friend of mine is actually teaching it to the police department, and they use it in the police department to help frightened people feel safe, especially when they're out on those mental health calls. "Hey, I'm here to keep you safe. And we're not going to let anyone do whatever is happening in that moment to you. So it's important that we help you not do that either, because we want this to be a safe place." We've used it in juvenile detention centers, adult detention centers, developmental centers. We shifted a little. We've also used it in residential treatment. We shifted a little in those settings because in congregate settings, you can't always guarantee that someone will be safe. So you say, "We want this to be a safe place," or "We're working for this to be a safe place." When we introduce this with families who have survived domestic violence, we say, "We want this to be a safe place." Because if you jump in with "this is a safe place" and it hasn't been, that's so jarring to the brain that the brain takes itself offline, the thinking brain. So the safety script is a way for us to literally introduce the experience, not just the words, not just the thought, but the experience of felt safety into an environment. Because as Stephen Porges teaches us, it's our capacity to feel safe that dictates our actions. We don't feel safe, the fear center of our brain takes over and invites us to flock, flee, fight, freeze, or faint, which I call submit. So when we can introduce that this is our safe place and this is what we're going to do to make it safe. Recently, I was sharing it with a preschool teacher, and she actually, at the beginning of the year, had each youth write their own safety script, which I had learned from a developmental center who had taken it. And they said, "Hey, this is our safe place. It's important that no one blank. So I'm not going to blank because this is our safe place." So what I thought was brilliant about this preschool teacher is she used that formula, and about 3 or 4 months into school, she said, "You know, I had a whole wall of what we're not going to do, And I thought, it's time for us to start thinking about what we are going to do to make this a safe place. So she came up with a new one and sat down with the kids one at a time and said, this is our safe place. It's important that people blank, and worked with them on, what do you want people to do? If you don't want them to hit, what do you want them to do instead? And so in doing that, she helped the youth figure out replacement behaviors. And that's one of the greatest gifts we can give our brain, because our brain doesn't like anything to die, even if it's an action that we no longer need, a behavior that served us in one environment that's not serving us now. It doesn't want to let go, doesn't want to have a neural network die, but it loves to grow. So when you give it a replacement behavior, the joy of growing overcomes the fear of letting something go. And so I just thought that was so brilliant of her to take that. And now she's got a wall of what we don't want and a wall of what we do want. So that's the safety script. We use it a lot in foster homes, in birth homes. I just welcome you to just use this in any way you see fit. We've even used it with children struggling with sexual acting out behaviors. And so especially when they're little, or when they're on the autistic spectrum and they're impulsively doing something, and we stop, we create the safety and say, hey, this is a safe place. No one's going to touch your bathing suit area, so it's really important that you not touch someone else's, because this is our safe place. Or whatever it is you're trying to curb in that youth who has experienced unsafe sexual activity that their brain's trying to make sense of and now trying to recreate in other environments. So it really helps frame even those behaviors. So there's a variety of ways to use it. And I invite you to go to the website, Growing Resilience Ohio, and please download more information we have on the safety script and other activities that you can do to build resilience. And we look forward to you using it. If you use it and you would like to share what you've done with it, please feel free to drop me a line at findinghopeconsulting.com. We'd love to hear how you're using the safety script. And thank you. Here's to felt safety for all of us. Because, as my t-shirt says, felt safety is a human right.